welcome to today's episode of Unpacking My Moving Boxes. And more excitingly, we are going to be turning this sad little water heater into my personal altar / alone time central, because as a mother, it is very important for me, especially as a spiritual mother, to have a little sanctuary, a little place that I can go and kind of just, this is mommy stuff and no one else touches it. And just have somewhere to put all of my witchy things, like my crystals and my cauldrons and my pestles and mortars and my tarot cards and my art. So we're going to do that today. And I thought it would be fun, as I am unpacking my boxes and setting all of this up, I would talk to you guys about my spiritual journey, because I think it's always really interesting to know how people got to the point in their lives that they're at. And I have kind of an interesting background. So I wanted to chat about that a little bit today and just kind of give us something to talk about as I unpack my boxes and set up my beautiful little space. So get a snack, get cozy. We're just going to hang out today and make some things pretty and get rid of the corner of boxes that have been plaguing my life for the last 10 days. Okay, so this is it. This is the corner. I'm going to go ahead and clean it off, and we're just going to kind of get started. So I have this like chiffon-esque white creme, I don't know, material. I think I'm going to lay that down here as kind of the foundation. So as I kind of unpack stuff, I'm going to talk to you guys. That's what you're here for, right? My spiritual journey. Where do I even begin? So growing up, I grew up in a pretty we believe in God, but you can still kind of do whatever you want kind of household. Not much structure. I didn't have the closest relationship with my parents. They were both always busy. As being an immigrant family, we came over from South Africa when I was 3 years old, and my parents worked really, really hard to give us a life. And those sacrifices of working really hard means you don't really get a relationship with your kids, unfortunately. A lot of my childhood was my grandma raising me. She was quite a religious, in the sense of if you pray, everything's gonna work out. And prayer is what got her through, prayer and belief is what got her through a lot of really hard times in her life. So I will never negate that, because I think a lot of my spiritual practices resemble what my family's looked like. I just call it different words and different names. So my grandma, very religious, always had the Bible around, but I don't know, I guess in South Africa, it wasn't really church wasn't really a big thing. It was more your religious practice was something that you kind of just did at home, but you have to believe in God. So I grew up with the idea of God, Jesus, is this deity, this energy, this person in the sky. I wouldn't even say energy, because he wasn't really energy. I have to go put my hair up. That was kind of my only exposure to religion. It really wasn't strong in my household, is basically all I'm trying to say. I didn't grow up with much of a religion. It was pretty empty, pretty up to interpretation. Fast forward to, I was 18, and I met my now husband, Curtis, and his family, and none of this at all is to be blaming anyone, is to be putting guilt on anyone, because I needed everything that happened to me to happen to me so that I can be the person that I am today. And I'm actually very thankful for my trauma and for the things that happened, because I am who I am today, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. So when I was 17, I met my now husband, Curtis, and his family was very, 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 very deep in the Pentecost religion. Apostolic, Pentecostal, whatever you want to call it. Oh, my mini apothecary. And with that religion, it's very controlling. And in hindsight, my view of religion is that a lot of it is just man-made attempts to control and manipulate people who are down on their luck and mentally unstable and having a hard time coping with the terrors of everyday life. And instead of actually helping them, they just manipulate and abuse them to give them money and have control over them. Maybe not every single church is like that, but every single church that I have come in contact with, non-denominational, Catholic, Pentecostal, Apostolic, Baptist, Protestant, like all of them to me are just a cult. And I think some people have a good intention, or maybe they think they have good intentions, but in hindsight, telling people what they can and can't do based on this book that was written 3,000 years ago that actually has really no like sentiment or logic and wasn't even translated to the words that were translated that many years ago is just bullshit. And that's what happened. So my boyfriend at the time, when he brought me home, the first thing out of his mom's mouth was, you got to get her in church. That way, like, we could be together, because I couldn't be with him if I wasn't like the same religion as him. And so me being I really don't have a family and I don't really have anything that makes me feel connected and whole, so why don't I pour all of myself into this religion? And that's what I did. I spent a lot of my time doing the things that they told you to do. And I kind of like transformed into this version of human that they wanted me to be, which was this like, do as I say, don't ask questions, this is the way that it is, and you're not going to ask why, you're not going to fight the power, it just is what it is. And those is what it is was, give me 10% of your money and then some if you're having a hard time, because that money will turn around and come back to you, shaken down, pressed together, right, back to you. And like, the thing that's so frustrating is a lot of the stuff that they preached over the pulpit was taken out of context in this Bible that they read, right? They pick and choose on what scriptures to actually like enforce. And a lot of the ones were the ones that ridicule and oppress women. So as a woman, I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. My hair was my power. So I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. Everyone had hair down to their feet. My hair got really long to the point it was like almost mid-thigh. And funny enough, when I left, I chopped all my hair off. And it was definitely like a trauma response. I wanted to just be cut free from it. As well as I wasn't allowed to wear pants. I had to wear skirts past the knee absolutely everywhere that I went, even to sleep. It was just a big control thing because it was modesty, and I had to be modest because that's what God wants, right? He wants me to be modest. He doesn't want anyone looking at my thighs. And this is not to hate on anybody that follows these practices, that agrees with them. You know, you do you, but you're here, and this is my page, and this is how I feel because I'm at the point in my life that I can talk about it now without, I still get frustrated, but it doesn't control me anymore. It doesn't have any power over me anymore because I live the way that I want to live. And it took me a really long time to get there. So I spend all my time, and this church that we went to was an hour away from my house, an hour and a half at some points. I end up moving to the town that the church was in and end up like making my whole life about this church. I gave the church a lot of my money, a lot of my time. Like, I was there Sundays after work, and I was working as a preschool teacher at the time. I was bringing my kids with me because I would nanny on the side. I would bring my kids with me to church. Like, Sunday, I was there twice a day, usually in between the services. I was there doing stuff. At one point, I was the Sunday school director. Like, I had the entire Sunday school program under my wing. I was teaching kids. Like, I was living it. Okay, and the kind of manipulation and brain tactics that go into just being that deep in it is real. And people are like, oh, you're just not smart enough to like not see through it. But when it's presented to you in such a way that it feels like they really truly are wanting to help you and they really truly are there with your better interest in mind, you believe it. Because like I said, coming from somebody who really didn't have much of a family connection and much of like a support system, it felt like a support system to me. It felt like these people wanted me. It felt like these people loved me and they cared about me and they were my family, to the point of like they were replacing my actual family. And again, as somebody who didn't have that, it was really nice to have that. And so I think a lot of that, of why I did everything that I did and spent so much time and energy and I listened to their rules, even though everything in me was like screaming not to, was because I just wanted to be accepted and I wanted to have a community and a family that backed me up and loved me, because I was a young adult and I didn't have that. So I wanted that. My husband and I, well, boyfriend at the time, we broke up. He left and he went to school, to Bible school, a couple states away. And when he did, it probably was my opportunity to like get out, but I dove deeper in because again, I was like, wow, I have nobody now. And a little part of me was like, as long as I stay in this, we have a chance of getting back together. And I mean, obviously in the end, like we did get back together, but that's kind of for different reasons. And I would like to think we probably still would have gotten back together even if I didn't stay in the church. But long story short, everything worked out the way that it was supposed to, because now I couldn't be happier with who I am. Putting all my energy, time, effort, everything that I was going into this church. I had no identity outside of being this church girl. And eventually, Curtis and I got back together. My pastor, because everything that I did had to be run by my pastor, right? Like this fucked up guy. And I'll get to that in a second. He approves of us getting married or whatever. And he tells us that we have 3 months to get married. So we throw together a wedding in the middle of fucking COVID. So dumb. In hindsight, I wish that we just got eloped and I wore the dress, because I didn't even wear the dress that I wanted to wear. We didn't have any alcohol at our wedding. Like the music that we listened to was like barely secular. Like it was very like controlled in every aspect of my life. Everything that I did was just controlled by this church. And so we got married. We ended up, because we couldn't live together if we weren't married. So that's why we ended up getting married so quickly, because we wanted to live together. And so we are going through church and things are starting to get lightened back up with the COVID restrictions. And we start going back to church. And as we're going back to church, Curtis and I just look at each other and we're like, we're so over this. Like, this is exhausting. This is our youth. We're draining who we are. And like, we're not happy. At the end of the day, like we were not happy what we were doing, and we felt like we were just going through the motions. And I like to call it now, I was asleep. We were very asleep. We go back and forth. We like call our pastor and we like tell him that we're going to be stepping down and like we're leaving. And he somehow talked us off the ledge and was like, no, don't leave, you know, like give us another chance, give this another chance. You're just tired, you're just burnt out, like, but this is what God wants for you. You know, they're just really good at like saying the things that, Momo, get off of there, sir. My kitty was jumping on my daughter's dresser. Anyway, he was really good at talking. And so he ended up convincing us to like give it another try, keep going. We ended up like not stepping down. Long story short, we're going, because at this point we had lost our building and we're like in a hotel. Like we're doing service in a hotel, like conference room. So we're setting everything up and tearing it down. Exhausting, right? Just stupid. And it comes out he was cheating on his wife. Of course, right? Like this holy man of God cheating on his wife. Crazy, unheard of. They're not who they say they are. Crazy. And it just to us was like our reality was shattered. Like this man who's above the pulpit preaching us all of this, like, thou art holy, like this is what you're supposed to do, this is who you're supposed to be, this is how you please God, like blah, 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 blah. We had given him thousands and thousands of dollars of our money. Like we were barely eating, but like the church was running, and just a lot of really frustrating things. So of course this is our out. The church like tries to keep going, but like how do you keep going after that? And it's an organization, it's UPCI, United Pentecostal Church International. So there's a lot of different churches around town and a lot of different connections that we have, and all these people that knew us and knew this version of us that was like a skirt wearing, modest, no makeup, no jewelry, long hair, you know, everything that we did was for the glory of God. And we were shunned basically immediately. Nobody wanted anything to do with us anymore. Oh, actually, I missed a very important part of my story. November of 2021, my mom dies. And it was very unexpected and obviously very, very difficult for me to process for a lot of different things. First off, like losing your mom is not an easy thing to do at all, especially when it's so unexpected. I didn't get to say goodbye to her. I didn't get to like have the conversations that I wanted to have with her. And I called my pastor, who was this man that was supposed to protect me, was supposed to help me, was supposed to guide me. And I had never called him in like a time of need before. And I called him as I was leaving the hospital, and I'm just heartbroken, and I'm just shattered. I'm speechless. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, my mom's gone. And his words to me were, just keep doing what you're doing. And at that moment, I got off the phone and I said, fuck this. And that was when we decided like we wanted to leave. And so I didn't go to church for a couple of weeks after that. I was really just grieving. I was just a shell of a human, honestly, because I had a lot of internal conflict with the fact of like my mom and I were not on good terms when she died. And that's something that I have to deal with and something that I have to work through in my human life, in my adult life. And she didn't like the church. She didn't think that it was a good idea. She always tried to tell me that I was being brainwashed and that I was in a cult. And I just told her, no, Mom, you're crazy. A lot of really, really heavy tensions between my mom and I. And then she was gone. And the people that I had essentially replaced my family with, instead of like working on my relationships with my actual blood family, I was going to this like spiritual family and expecting them to like fill that void. Just left me hanging, abandoned me. Not a single person checked on me. Like, I never felt more alone in my life. And that was when my husband and I were like, we can't do this anymore. Like, we can't keep going to this church. And so when it came out that my pastor was cheating on his wife, we were like, yeah, this is just not aligned for who we are anymore. And we left. And like I said, we were shunned by everybody. All of these people that were our friends, all these people that we hung out with, everyone that we knew no longer wanted anything to do with us. And it's just the reality of like, doing what's best for you and for your family is not always going to align with what other people think. And sometimes those people are actually your family, and that's a very difficult obstacle to overcome. But I just want to encourage anybody that if you feel like your religion or what you're doing, your practice or whatever is suffocating you, and you don't feel like you're being your most authentic, true self, and you feel like you're masking every time you're around those people, it's okay to do what's best for you and walk away if that's what you feel called to do. And it's not easy because you lose this whole sense of identity. I didn't know who I was afterwards. Like, I knew the things that I was doing was not what I wanted to be doing, but like, I didn't know what I wanted to be doing. I didn't know who I wanted to be. And truthfully, like, it was just a really emotionally disruptive period. I was not only grieving the loss of my mother, I found out I was pregnant. My daughter was actually born exactly 1 year after my mom died. On November 3rd, 2021, my mom passed away. On November 3rd, 2022, I had my daughter. And I knew that it was my mom's way of saying, like, I'm proud of you. And it was, I don't know, it was like a daughter to a mother. From a daughter to a mother. She was just telling me like everything was going to be okay. And like she was okay and we were okay. Because obviously I have a lot of guilt on the way that things ended with my mom and I. And yeah. So we had my daughter. And I knew I didn't want to raise her in this like identity of falsehood. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't want to raise her not knowing who I was. So I really, I don't know. I just asked, because at this point I was like, I don't know if there's a God. I don't know what's out there. And I still don't know. I talked to energy. I talked to the beings of the spirit world or whatever they are as source. I call them spirit, I call them source, I call them the universe. Like, I don't know who or what it is that I'm talking to, but I know that I'm talking to something. And I know that that something, that energy, that source, whatever it is, wants the best for me, because The way that I look at it is we are literally bits of star fragment. We are the universe trying to figure the universe out. We are the universe trying to experience the universe. So like, why would the universe not want what's best for us? And I truly believe that when you speak, you're heard, and things will come to fruition. You just have to be patient. And patience is something that I have really had to come to terms with, because I am not a patient person. But over the last couple of years, I have really found my patience, and now I am living the life that I never thought that I would be living. I am genuinely a happy, healthy version of myself. Throughout this transition and this journey, my husband and I have each lost like 60 pounds. We were living such an unhappy, unhealthy, depressed lifestyle, and we didn't even realize it. Just like the lifestyle of constantly being on the go like that, constantly being in church service, constantly giving yourself, constantly volunteering, like we were not eating well, we were not taking care of ourselves, we were not like sleeping well, we were not doing anything that benefited ourselves. Everything that we did was for the benefit of the church. And that's just an exhausting lifestyle to live. So now, my daughter's almost 4 years old. We're living in our first actual home. We have privacy, we have freedom, and we get to just be who we are and develop those emotions and those identities without anybody telling us who or what is expected of us. And that in itself has been the most healing, beneficial part and phase and chapter of my life that I've ever been in. And it was not easy getting here. So now let's chat about how we got here from that chaos into this beautiful world that I live in now. The first thing I did get set up before I even started filming this video, because I just wanted it to kind of be like my thing, is I set up my mom's altar. I found this at the thrift store and I just thought it was perfect. Yeah, that's my mommy, and I feel like she talks to me through butterflies and moths. And yeah, this is my little altar where I can come and talk to her, light a candle for her, and just our way of preparing that relationship. The fun part. My spiritual journey started with crystals. When I was laying in bed in my sunken, depressive, sad state, I stumbled upon an Instagram post that was basically like telling you what different crystals can do for different like phases of your life. Like, so the first crystal that ever caught my eyes was actually a rose quartz. And the rose quartz told me that it can help me with self-love, and it told me it can help me kind of just like heal and find like that confidence and that's that self-compassion that I truthfully did not have in myself. And so of course that felt very appealing to me, and it was. And so I went down this very long, very detailed rabbit hole of crystals. What are crystals? What do they mean? What do they do? Why do people wear them? Why do people like them? And I learned so much. And of course, I was quite interested. I went to my local metaphysical shop, and I had never been in one before, and I felt like I was home. I felt so much peace. I was so overwhelmed with happiness and love, and I was just so happy to be there. And I was like, oh my God, I think I found my people. I think I found my place. And I picked up a tourmaline stone because I felt like I had a lot of negative energy that I was just trying to do something with. And I held the stone. I felt like I was going to be okay. And it really just kind of spiraled from there. And I feel like I really went through like a spiritual awakening. And I just felt like my entire reality and everything that I knew and everything that I thought I knew was just shattered. And I realized that life is just so much more than I was sold. And there was so much more depth, and there was so much more light, and just life wasn't just this deranged, sad, get by every day, do what you can, but don't ask any questions. Like, I just felt like this version of reality that I had been living was just gone. And I felt so free. I felt so liberated. And so I kept doing research after research, and I found that I loved crystals. I found that I loved to meditate, because then after crystals, it went into plants. And plants and me, we're besties. It just felt very therapeutic to me to work with the dirt and work with the ground and work with nature. And I started spending a lot more time outside and just talking out loud, talking to the trees, talking to the ground, and just like realizing that I felt lighter and I felt better, and I felt more like I didn't have this weight on my shoulders anymore. And I began wearing crystals everywhere that I went, and they were just my buddies, and I felt just very connected to them. And crystals and nature led to meditating. And in meditating is where I feel like I really found, who I am. I did a lot of shadow work. I did a lot of journaling. I asked myself some really tough questions that, people don't want to ask themselves. And I didn't want to ask myself because I didn't really want to know the answers to them. And learning why I was the way that I was, learning why I reacted the way I reacted, was because I had this preset version of expectations of what I was supposed to do, who I was supposed to be, and they were all wrong. They weren't me. They were this other version of people talking over me. And so when I was able to really heal and leave behind the versions of myself that people expected me to be, I found that I was able to truly step into this version of myself that I wanted to be. And I haven't looked back. And now I would consider myself a spiritual practitioner. And I try to just live my life with intention in every moment, slow down and enjoy what's already in front of me. I believe in karmatic energy. And I believe that the way that you treat the world and the way that you treat people is always going to come back around to you. So I try to treat people with empathy and kindness and love. And I feel like the universe has rewarded me with a lot of that in return. I think that there is magic in everything that we do. I think crystals hold a frequency that affects us. We are literally made of the earth, and the earth is made into us. And so when we connect with the frequencies of stones and crystals and plants and herbs and all those things, it affects us on a level, like a molecular level, that we can't understand. And I do truly believe that it has an impact. And that's why I choose to surround myself with crystals and herbs and plants. And I live in a way that I try to find intention and happiness in all that I do. And I use my words because I feel like my words are powerful. And I just try to encourage others to do the same and live a life that they feel is authentic and in a way that they feel like they are truly expressing themselves. I think when you act on the ideas and the thoughts that come into your head and you let the universe show you what it has in store for you, it responds. And just being the most authentic, happiest version of yourself pisses off a lot of people, but it makes the universe really happy. And if I can do anything, it's to encourage you to just be yourself, be happy, chase what makes you happy, chase your dreams, chase your ambitions, do everything that you want to do, because this life is it. This is all we get. I don't know what's on the other side. You get to choose and do things every day, whether they're small things, whether they're big things. You make the choice every day to be the happiest version of yourself. And I encourage you to follow those leads, follow that heart, and see where it takes you. am actually really very, very happy with how it came out. This was very much a trust the process and hope it turns out okay kind of situation, because like I said, I was just working with a little corner in my house and concrete walls. So I did improvise in some places, and I actually really like the way that it came out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and if you made it to the end, I love you so much and I'm so thankful for you. I hope you guys got to know me a little bit more, and I am very curious if any of you can relate to my story or if you can resonate with anything that I said today. Please let me know in the comments. I love to talk to you guys, and honestly, this world's lonely, so let's connect, let's chat. I would love to hear about your story, because I know I'm not the only one with some religious background, religious trauma into a spiritual lifestyle. So if you guys have any questions, or if you have any requests on things you want to see, please let me know. But other than that, I will see you soon. Bye!